Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your April 2025 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. This is going to be the last series of videos that I explain this, but I do have a main channel, Raina Moon Astrology. Some of you are watching me because you know about that channel. For those of you who are, you know, stumbling onto my channel, don't know anything about me, I do astrology on Raina Moon Astrology channel, and this I'm starting a secondary channel, and this is going to be for tarot and maybe some other related kind of things, but not necessarily astrology. And on my main channel, it's going to be primarily astrology with one set of topical tarot readings a month. I think they're going to be like end of the month readings, and just the rest are astrology readings there. And here is going to be pretty much all tarot readings. So if you're a tarot fan, and please subscribe to this channel if you like what I'm doing, obviously. Yeah, so that's all I really wanted to say. Okay, interesting. So first of all, I did get a couple of major arcana cards. So that's they're very interesting. The major arcana cards are the ones like the Strength card and the Hangman, and they represent major, shifts or things like that, major developments. And the other cards are kind of like day-to-day matters. The heart of the matter is the Ten of Wands, and this is a card you can, even if you don't know what these cards represent, you can see that a woman is slouched or kind of bent over and carrying something like it's a burden. The Ten of Wands in one of my tarot books is called The Burdens of Success, meaning that somebody may have gotten a promotion, but then they have to work longer hours, or they have more responsibilities, and that's weighing them down. But it can be even like assuming responsibility for someone that maybe is not really, you really don't have that need to do so, and it's their responsibility. Or maybe you do have like a feeling of sense of duty, but it feels like a very difficult task. It could simply be that you're working overtime, you're doing a lot of work, and it's like threatening to cause burnout in your life. I think too with relationships, it can be a situation where you are kind of carrying the relationship, and the other person isn't really doing their part, or they're not really, there's a term and I can't think of it, like I can't think of that term. Maybe you'll be able to tell me. Sometimes I can't think of something, and then somebody will write what I meant to say. But it's like basically you're assuming responsibility for the whole relationship, and they're just mailing it in or something like that. And that's a one-sided relationship, obviously. And or maybe even like enabling someone when they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do. In the past position, we have the Hanged One. This is kind of a feminist deck, I think, so they don't want to say hangman, but the cards are, it's called the Modern Witch Tarot or something like that. And all of the characters in it are female, or most of them, and some of them are kind of androgynous. But the thing is, and I'm going to call it the Hangman because that's typically what it's called, is this card of sacrifice. And it's really interesting because I remember I was talking to someone, and and it was funny because it was like a coworker who was a Capricorn. So this is really important, that I say that, because the sign of Capricorn tends to be very traditional and would think like we're conditioned to think like, and was basically saying, well, I'm sacrificing for my children. And I said to her, because I don't have children, I said, so when does the sacrifice end? When do people stop sacrificing? I can't remember when, if she even answered me. But the point is that sometimes people sacrifice because they think that they have to do it, like it's their job, it's their duty. But I always think of the word sacrifice as a bad word, as that somebody is doing something that they really don't want to do. I could be wrong about that. I don't think that's really what it means, but to me, it doesn't feel like a good vibe. Um, I feel like if you really are doing something for the benefit of another, I tried to plug in my charger and it warned me not to do that for some reason. But I'm low on battery, so I hope that I can do this. But I feel like if you really are doing something that is coming from your heart and you really want to make somebody else happy, that it's not a sacrifice. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. If you're doing, because the Ten of Wands is like a burden, to me. I mean, you can see the body language of the person in the illustration. So it's like, are you doing something? Are you kind of like putting somebody ahead of yourself because you think you have to? And it really isn't something you want to do, and you're resenting it, because you're going to probably express that in one way or the other, whether you think so or not. And the other person might even be quite surprised that you feel that way, because they never saw it coming that you would be like that. um or they, you know what I mean, like when somebody does something that they really don't want to do, the other person can sometimes sense it, and it can be this negative feeling. The higher message is the Queen of Cups. This is a card, it's funny, if this card is specifically Scorpio, please let me know. I think somebody told me it was, but I thought it was Cancer. But it's definitely double water. And this is the card of this is like the mother card. This is the, also like for the artist. And it's like, the person who is, this is like a very psychic card, and it's a very nurturing card. But the thing is that it's something like, if you're doing something that you feel is taking away from yourself, and that is a sacrifice, and where did you get that message from? Because if it's like with your children, even or even the idea to have children, um sometimes people who are parents, they are doing things that they think will make their child happy, and that includes, by the way, working a job that pays a lot of money, but you might not be with your children as much as you want to be. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration, because yeah, sometimes, even what we think is that noble sacrifice is not really what they want. But also I think too, this idea of carrying somebody else's burden that belongs to them. And even with children, sometimes children, a parent is protective and they want to protect their children from experiencing the consequences of things, when that can be the greatest teacher. So it's It's a very interesting thing. I'm just going to keep going because, it might become clear to you what is really going on. What crosses you is the Nine of Cups. Actually, even as a challenge card, it's almost like excess, like something that's really good, that's excessive. And I even think, like, for in some cases, in this particular case, it can be self-indulgent. So I'll even include, if you're involved with somebody that has an addiction and you're enabling them, you're codependent with them. That could be the Ten of Wands. Um, and you're doing it because you think that that is what makes you a good partner, that you're like putting them first. But that isn't really what is going on. And actually, like, the Queen of Cups as the spiritual card is like, you have that, being a Scorpio, you actually have a very intuitive nature. And so deep down inside whether what you're doing is helping somebody or hindering them. What's coming in is this Nine of Swords. This is a card of anxiety. Now, very interestingly, this is below the Hangman. So, like I said, you do something that you really don't want to do, and then it kind of comes back to haunt you in terms of your anxiety levels, because you feel like you should do something instead of it being something that is coming from your heart. And sometimes, people feel like they're between a rock and a hard place, that if they don't help someone, they're afraid that that person is going to lose their job. So if they don't, like, call in sick to their boss and lie for them or whatever, that person's going to lose their job. And so they want to protect that person from their life falling apart. And the thing is, like I said, before, when you're taking responsibility for somebody else's problems and trying to put out all those fires, that really is just, not only are you doing what they should be doing for themselves, but it really just prolongs the situation, because there is cause and effect in the universe. And the interesting thing about that Ten of Wands is that if you burn out because of the stress that you're putting yourself under, which could be completely voluntarily that you're doing this, if you kind of like collapse from that stress and you can't work, then you're not going to be good for anyone. You're not even going to be good for yourself. So you have to practice self-care. You can't, like, bite off more than you can chew. And that includes if you are trying to, like, help the boss, for instance, because they're short a person. If you know your body and you know that you can't do what you're doing, you're going to end up not being able to work at all. So then you won't be able to help the boss. So it's really about, gauging your energy and not doing more than you really can do. And your emotions will tell you that. And when you have that anxiety, that's really like a message that is telling you that you're overwhelmed, that there's too much going on. The Outcome is the Strength card. This is really about recuperation, and it can even be on the physical level. This, to me, the more I draw this card, the more I can see that sometimes it really is that the person is, they have been running on fumes in some cases, that they've been, overextending themselves. And I think that can be what the Ten of Wands is as well. And they have to rebuild themselves. But it also, on the emotional or psychological level, is really about believing that you're deserving of those things, that you don't have to do it all, that other people have to do for themselves sometimes. I mean, all the time when they're adults, but with children, it's a little bit trickier, but with adults for sure. We can help people, but we shouldn't be doing for other people what they're supposed to be doing for themselves, and having the strength to say no. And I know, if you're a sun in Libra, you could very easily have a sun in Scorpio, you could very easily have planets in Libra, and that can make you very prone to people pleasing, saying yes when you mean no. Even though you're a Scorpio and Scorpios can be badasses, it can work out that way, and that can be very frustrating for you, because you may feel like, oh, if I say no, somebody's going to be mad or somebody's going to be disappointed, and it's like, yeah, and they'll get over it because you're going to be teaching them that you're not always going to say yes, and then they won't always ask either. And that's part of the thing too. The more you say yes, the more they're going to go, oh, I'm going to go to this person, because they know that you're like a pushover. So anyway, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated, Scorpio. If you would like a private reading, I am primarily an astrologer, but I do private tarot readings. I do astrological readings. I have combo packages too, for a special price. And you can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for watching. Bye.